Telltale Games. They had their highs and their lows and their comeback. Welcome back. As you can tell by the video title, in this video I'm going to be talking about more so like the history of Telltale and their ultimate downfall and how they, like I said, came back. This is very interesting to research. I learned a lot that I really didn't know, and yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Telltale Games was founded in July 2004 by Kevin Bruner, Dan Connors, and Troy Melander. Okay, so these folks that I just named used to work on adventure games at LucasArts, aka Lucasfilm Games. And these folks decided to leave LucasArts at the time because in 2004, LucasArts, they wanted to stray away from the adventure game genre. But Bruners, Connors, and Melander wanted to focus on the adventure game genre, so Telltale Games was born. Now their vision for Telltale was to create narrative adventure games, especially with the focus of having that narrative story aspect. They also wanted to lean into the episodic format, which is where a game is split into multiple parts or episodes and released at different times. So from 2005 to 2006, Telltale released Texas Hold'em, Bone, which was a game that they used to test their episodic format, but it was canceled after 2 episodes. And then they released Sam and Max Season 1, aka Sam and Max Save the World, and it was released in that episodic format, and it was considered a success for Telltale. Sam and Max Season 1 is actually viewed as one of the first successful demonstrations of an episodic release in the video game industry. And this game really got the ball rolling for Telltale. They were getting more investors, and they even were able to make a Sam and Max Season 2.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Now, in 2008, the CEO of LucasArts, LucasArts, remember them? Remember in 2004 how LucasArts wanted to ditch the adventure game genre? Well, it seems like after Telltale's success in that genre, they had a change of heart. So like I was saying, in 2008, LucasArts got a new CEO, and this CEO wanted to focus more on adventure games. LucasArts wanted a new game to be made to go into their Monkey Island series, so they gave a license to Telltale in order for Telltale to make that new game, right? And the game that Telltale developed for them was Tales of Monkey Island. But ain't that funny? Isn't it funny how like the 3 employees that left LucasArts started Telltale, focused on adventure games. They had a successful adventure game, and LucasArts came, not crawling back, but they came to ask for their assistance in developing a game, an adventure game specifically, the same genre that LucasArts wanted to ditch. That's just kind of funny to me. Anyway, I also want to mention that from 2006 to 2010, Telltale also developed a series of games for Ubisoft, which were CSI related, which, it helped with their income. But yeah, Telltale was kind of the hot girl on the block, Many companies were wanting to work with them after their success, and they were truly making a name for themselves. In fact, in 2010 and 2011, Telltale received multiple licenses to develop games for NBC Universal. These included Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and Law & Order. And the Back to the Future game specifically was a big hit. Okay, that money was coming in, their revenue was jumping. They were even able to hire even more employees. Oh, but their true breakthrough success? The Walking Dead. Yes, the game we all know, and hopefully the game that we all love. So Telltale was able to acquire a license for The Walking Dead, and with that, they decided to take a different approach than they had previously done with other games. They wanted to make this game more cinematic, and they wanted to make a personal story with characters that people can truly connect with. There were quick time events, and there were a lot of choices that you made in this game that really affected the outcome of your story. And you guessed it, people really liked this game. And in 2012, it only took 20 days for this game to sell 1 million copies. Okay, this game that Telltale made was a change maker in that adventure game genre thanks to the more emotionally driven focus. And since then, The Walking Dead was essentially the blueprint for all Telltale games moving forward. Okay, this game was the bar for the company. Now, this game was one of their biggest successes. But was it the reason for their collapse? We'll get to that. Telltale also began to acquire even more licenses to make games like Tales from the Borderlands, Game of Thrones, Minecraft Story Mode, Batman, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now the company was growing and growing, and in 2015 Dan Connors resigned as Telltale CEO and was replaced by Kevin Bruner. Now if you remember, both Connors and Bruner founded Telltale in 2004, but when they found Telltale, Connors became CEO. But the reason Connors was replaced as CEO by Bruner in 2015 was because the company was growing, like I mentioned, and they wanted to sort of start to restructure management and organization at the company since they were handling an increased amount of projects and an increased amount of staff. And it appears that Bruner was more equipped to handle it, and even Connors thought so as well. But with this CEO change, it was, and as one Telltale employee put it, the beginning of the end. So you remember that restructuring I mentioned? So yeah, as the new CEO, Bruner had what I would call like this hustle mindset. He created a work environment where employees would work on major titles and side projects all at once. But this led to what is known as crunch time. Now, crunch time is mostly known in the video game industry as when a company has employees working overtime on a game. And they're working back-to-back shifts, mostly between like 60 hours and 80 hours a week. Usually with no time to breathe, and unfortunately, they're usually undercompensated for their work. So these employees were doing everything fast and all at once and didn't really have time to really invest in a story and make it the best that it could have been. The new CEO Bruner was putting the quantity of games over the quality of games, and it really started to affect Telltale's work. And this truly made the games not as great as they could have been. There were major bugs found in new episodes of games, and the quality control employees were understaffed, so they were probably testing like 2 games at once. It was just not a great situation. Okay, so remember how I mentioned how although The Walking Dead was one of Telltale's biggest successes, it could have contributed to their downfall? Let's get into that. See, what's a thing that a lot of companies try to do when they have a big hit, when they have a really big success? What do they try to do? When something has done so well, they may try to reboot it, remake it, or, in Telltale's case, replicate it. Many employees felt as if Telltale was trying to replicate The Walking Dead's success with all the additional licensed properties they acquired. Remember how I said they also acquired licenses for the Batman, Game of Thrones, etc.? So Bruner, the CEO, was so focused on The Walking Dead's format because, like I mentioned, that brought them in a lot of money. But forcing employees and creatives to only focus on that one format stifled creativity. It prevented developers from looking at alternative formulas or different formats or something new. They were forced into this box and to only use this one formula, and it wasn't working for them. This led to a lot of the staff departing from the company prior to any layoffs. It was simply a toxic work environment and people left. There's also a problem with managers demanding rewrites of projects that were nearly done. Like I said, toxic work environment. And some employees really felt like their management was trying to create this fear amongst them where if they didn't comply, they could either be fired or demoted, or they wouldn't even be promoted at all. These sudden rewrites that employees were forced to make deteriorated some of the game's quality, making the product feel and looked rushed. Batman, the Telltale series, which released in 2016, was supposedly one of their worst commercial failures. And in the company. Now, personally, I loved the Batman series, and I didn't even know about all this going on beforehand, so I do want to applaud them for doing their best, but they shouldn't have had to be put in that situation. And by they, I mean the employees, of course. Now, in March 2017, Brunner announced that he would be stepping down as Telltale CEO, but word on the street is he got the boot. Congratulations. Yeah, he was reportedly voted out by the board of directors, and Pete Hawley was announced as the new CEO of Telltale. And towards the end of 2017, there were more layoffs. See, the new CEO Hawley wanted to focus on less games with an even smaller staff. Now, I did want to mention that in June 2018, Brunner, remember the old CEO? The one that was voted out? He filed a lawsuit against Telltale relating to his departure. The lawsuit was supposedly about financial damages. But Telltale's response to the lawsuit was basically that they were trying to clean up the mess Brunner created and try to undo all the damage that he did. And in September 2018, Hawley, the CEO, announced that Telltale will be undergoing majority studio closure and that they laid off most of their workforce. This was after a major investor in Telltale pulled out, essentially withdrawing all of their majority funding. Mind you, they announced their studio closure while the final season of the Walking Dead game was releasing, ultimately pausing any current work on the game. They only had 1 out of 4 episodes out when this news was announced. A couple days after the announcement, a class action lawsuit was filed by former employees of Telltale, alleging that Telltale violated the Federal Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act of 1988. This was mainly because employees only had 30 minutes to leave the office building after the foreclosure announcement. They received no severance and only had a limited amount of time left on their healthcare benefits. Telltale released the second of 4 planned episodes of The Walking Dead's final season as scheduled in September 2018, and they said they've been contacted by multiple companies to help finish the final 2 episodes. And then it was announced that the last 2 episodes of The Walking Dead final season will be finished by Skybound Entertainment. And in October 2018, Telltale worked to liquidate all of their remaining assets. So, in February 2019, a company called LCG Entertainment acquired key assets to Telltale. And almost a year after Telltale announced their studio closing, in August 2019, LCG Entertainment announced that it was relaunching the company by assuming the name Telltale Games. So essentially, LCG Entertainment is Telltale Games, and they could do this because they acquired several assets of Telltale. The founders of this new Telltale Games is Jamie Ottilie and Brian Waddle, with Ottilie being CEO. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really know if I'm pronouncing Ottilie right, or if it's Ottilie. Their plan was to re-release the old Telltale's catalog and additionally work on new games based on Telltale affiliated properties. And the new Telltale Games announced The Wolf Among Us 2 in December 2019 at the Game Awards. And from what I remember, The Wolf Among Us 2 was supposed to come out this year, 2023, but it got delayed to 2024 so they could avoid crunch. Which is good to avoid crunch because one, these employees are human beings, right? They don't deserve to be under this kind of restraint and stress. And 2, last time the studio crunched, the company went into foreclosure with games that weren't the best quality. And now this year, 2023, they released The Expanse game, which is a game I did play. I'll have those videos linked in the description. But yeah, Telltale developed The Expanse alongside Deck 9, and the game has received generally favorable reviews. So yeah, like I mentioned, it seems like their next release will be The Wolf Among Us 2, which I am looking forward to. I personally want to see them dive back into The Walking Dead, but unfortunately, like I mentioned, they had to give the rights back to Skybound because they couldn't finish the game at the time. But I'm hoping to see more creative and original IPs from the new Telltale games. So yeah, that's what I have right now. What are your thoughts on all of this? And let me know if I missed any important information. But yeah, like I said, I don't really know much about this history of Telltale. When they foreclosed, I remember everyone was like, "Oh no, The Walking Dead. What's gonna happen with The Walking Dead?" That's all I heard about. But I didn't really hear about all this crunch time and employees leaving, etc., etc. Is there anything that you learned? Yeah, like I said, I learned a lot from looking into this. And what's your favorite Telltale game? Me personally is The Walking Dead, of course. I am wearing my Clementine shirts. It says "Still Not Bitten." And yeah, leave a like if you like this video and subscribe if you like commentary videos like this. And yeah, that's all for now.